Unit 1. Counseling Skills. This unit is designed to introduce counseling skills and techniques to the learners. It will familiarize them with the basic features of the advisor's profession. After acquiring knowledge from this unit, learners will be qualified to understand the profession and role of the advisor, identify the difference between advising and counseling, apply basic counseling skills and techniques. Introduction. Professional advisor is an expert professionally trained and qualified to give information, explanations and advice in specific areas or for specific needs to an individual, group of people or organization. He is an expert in particular area, capable of offering swift and comprehensive insight and complex services, while in other areas he is professionally trained or instructed to the level of expertise required for providing services. In the case of more complex services that are not in his area of expertise, professional advisor uses and/or proposes the services of other professionals. The advisor helps in research, planning, decision-making and implementing them by providing information and suggestions, staying neutral, objective and focused on the ultimate interest of his client. Advisor for direct foreign investors has some additional roles. He is an expert professionally trained and qualified in specific areas to provide information, explanations and advice, and can offer advisory services to people across different linguistic, cultural and geographical regions. The communication sensitivity that prevents any misleading interpretation is hugely important. Cultural diversity should always be taken into account, with special attention to differences in education, age, gender, as well as in political, religious and racial affiliations. Giving advice and advising counseling are two different processes. Giving advice is a process which involves less listening and more talking, instant response to questions, explaining, giving directions and information. Advising counseling is a process which involves more listening, asking and not talking, as well as helping the client to reach the point where he is capable of finding his own solutions by implementing certain techniques. Example: one financial advisor can use his professional expertise to help his clients to manage and increase their assets. Another financial advisor, using his counseling skills, can help a client to secure financial independence, empowering him or her to become more confident and realize what he or she wants. A foreign direct investment advisor is an ideal combination of both, as he is qualified for giving advice as well as for counseling. Advisor's skills and traits. The counseling skills are not only acquired through knowledge but through experience as well. Skills on their own are not sufficient to allow the advisor to successfully complete the counseling process to the client's satisfaction. The advisor should also possess certain traits that, in addition to the acquired skills, make him an accomplished expert. Important advisor's skills and traits. Communicative, calm, neutral, sensitive to ethical values, considerate, friendly, tactful, curious, objective, polite, witty, relaxed, resourceful, adaptable, with positive attitude, influential, pleasant-looking. A skilled advisor who will gain the trust and confidence of the client needs to have additional qualities. Organizational skills in gathering and sharing information with the client. Responsibility for the accuracy of gathered and shared information. Good connections with experts and institutions out of his own area of expertise. The basic counseling skills include listening, empathy, understanding, focusing on the client, tolerance, consideration, a broad view, an ability to cooperate and accept, a broad culture, a fresh and ongoing curiosity, interest in the client, an understanding personality, a good verbal communication, accepting responsibility, an excellent memory, an awareness and expertise in the field in which counseling is provided. Listening is the main skill. It is the most important activity, consistently applied throughout the entire counseling process. In counseling process, the advisor should apply following skills. Listening, following the body language, writing notes. Listening, asking questions, writing notes. Listening, asking more questions, being confident about received information. Listening, following the body language, writing notes. No interrupting the client, no speeding the process, no asking questions in advance. No promising, providing high-quality information. No making decisions, offering opportunities and solutions. Listening. Listening skills are taught. The high art of efficient listening is obtained by training and experience. Professional listening is not a simple process that is commonly used in everyday communication. Listening means paying full attention to the client, being mindful and fully focused not only on the client's words, but also on the message conveyed through them. Listening also includes paying attention to body language and facial expression. Listening leads to asking the right questions at the right time. By asking the right questions, the client is encouraged to specify and expand his verbalized ideas. Listening means paying attention to every little detail, and the most important thing in listening is to learn how to remain silent, how to observe, and how to ask questions in order to get all necessary information. Paying attention and asking questions. Paying attention is the most difficult skill to learn as it requires a lot of experience and practice in keeping your thoughts focused while listening to the other person. If it is necessary, notes should be taken during listening. This is especially preferable in the beginning of doing a counseling job. It is also very important to listen the client's speech. Questions should not be asked in advance. They should be related exclusively to what the client just has said. The advisor has to wait patiently for the client to move on to another topic. If the client does not go to a new topic, the advisor should write down any questions related to that topic, and ask them at the end of the client's presentation. The advisor should also not suggest to the client to move on to a different subject prematurely. Otherwise, the client may lose focus and miss some important information. Issues related to the subject that the client has not spoken about should be asked at the end of the presentation only if the advisor is missing crucial information that could help him to explain to the client more details about a topic or to answer his questions. Jerkovic M. 2017 lists 7 different types of questions which can be asked, but one must have a clear idea why the question is formulated in a certain way and at a particular time. Open questions are usually used to encourage the other person to open so that you can collect the information you need. They often start with why, what, where, what and how. Examining questions can be used to clarify something that has already been said, or to learn more about the subject. This form of questions can be useful in creating relationships, but it should not be overused, as it may make the interlocutors feel uncomfortable as if they were questioned or even attacked. Closed questions require the answer yes or no. Reflecting questions are often used to check and clarify one's own understanding. This style sends the question back to the speaker and to what he has just said and allows the interlocutor to fully analyze all the information received and his own knowledge on a particular situation. Main or suggestive questions should be used with caution because they indicate that certain answer should be given in response, which is contrary to the concept of active listening. Hypothetical questions allow an assessment in what way a person could respond or what he/she thinks about a possible situation. Paraphrasing questions are one of the best ways to check one's own understanding of the information received from the speaker. The quality questions will result in quality answers and information, which would help advisor to offer good solutions. When asking questions, the advisor should use vocabulary understandable to the client in order to make sure that the client understood questions. Questions should not be too personal even if they might be related to the current client's situation. During the client's presentation, the advisor should ask only about the information required for providing proper guidance and answers. After the presentation, the client should first receive the information and answers solely related to the areas of his interest. Later, the advisor can ask more questions in order to redirect the client to additional areas and possibly offer some other options, ideas and solutions. Premature questions and answers. If the client still has not completed his sentence thoughts on a subject, information is not specified, the advisor does not ask enough questions, and in that way implies that she or he has no interest in the client's plan or project. By offering a quick response during the interview, the advisor disputes and undermines the seriousness and complexity of the client's project. In those cases, the client may get an impression that the advisor considers his plan or project to be simple, insufficient, incomplete or even insignificant. The client may also think that he has received quick, superficial and incomplete answers from the advisor. That could result in the client becoming insecure and doubtful. Quick and premature answers by the advisor show his lack of expertise and awareness. It would be more professional to ask additional questions and to listen. Only after the client completes his full presentation, the advisor will provide him with information and solutions. The client will then accept advisor's help with more confidence, knowing that he has received all the necessary information and has full insight into a problem. The client will be assured that the advisor has listened carefully to the whole conversation and that he will offer complex solutions, advice and instructions. The advisor should keep in mind that the client is a foreign investor, whose decisions and further steps should protect and enhance his investment, on which depends the safety and quality of life not only of a foreign investor, but also of all future participants and their families. That is why it is crucial to listen carefully and to gather as much information as possible. Empathy, understanding, acknowledgement. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. Empathy is learned over time. It is neither sympathy nor highlighting one's own emotional state. With empathy we show our concern and understanding for the client's situation. By showing empathy, the advisor sends a message to the client that he puts himself in his situation and therefore he is able to consider the ideas and motives in the same way the client does. With a nod of the head, a smile, writing notes or by verbal confirmation, the advisor makes clear that he fully understands the client's most important information, wishes and needs. The advisor has to clearly verbally repeat the key information received from the client in order to ensure he was listening to him carefully and fully understood. The acknowledgement of the client's information indicates care and respect for him and proves that the advisor is doing his job responsibly. By acknowledgement, the advisor confirms that he cares for others. Unclear parts of the conversation should be clarified. The advisor should repeat them and ask the client to confirm that he understood everything properly. Only after the confirmation, the advisor can ask additional questions in order to receive more information, which the client could possibly forgot to convey. The advisor is personally responsible for his own emotions. He cannot allow at any moment his counseling to be controlled by his emotions. Mutual reactions are of crucial importance. Positive, that is correct reactions are learned through exercise. The advisor should always be in charge of the situation regardless of anything unexpected or unpleasant happening during the counseling session. The advisor should always have the freedom to lead a conversation in an appropriate direction.